Hello, I was looking at the Remnant 2 Steam page and I saw something that scared me. The problem with this is that it sounds very live service type of a game deal, and it will force people to make some bad choices, and it will not give more replayability, it will just give more annoying features to the game. If you remember, Remnant 2 had the classless system because you could get everything on everything, and it was perfect because you could play as a support, you could play as a tank, you could play as the DPS, you could play at anything you wanted when you're playing with your friends. And that's what I call true co-op in the true sense of the word, because you're not supposed to make 3 characters in order to play with your friends. No. You just chose one character and you adjusted your character's gear and skills based on what your friends needed. Perfect system. I only read the start of the article because I got a headache as soon as I read it, because it sounds like they're trying to make a live service games, and instead of focusing on the single player experience, they want to focus on the co-op experience, and I'm very scared for the game. I don't know. Okay, let's get into it. One of the biggest features of Remnant 2 is the completely revamped archetypes. Why not more planets? Why not more challenges? Why not more gear? Why not more skills? Why not more diverse enemies? More diverse fights? Why do they always have to modify the mechanics of the game instead of the actual content of the game and the design? One of the biggest features of Remnant 2 is a completely revamped archetype system. In the original game, archetypes served as the initial gear loadout, and it was perfect. Through play, everything was eventually available to every character, no matter what archetype you started with. The only requirement was that you simply had to go out and earn it. What are they doing? They're just going back. They're going back in time 10 years when you had to play with a certain classes. Oh wow, I'm astonished. I'm reading it and I cannot believe it. This is exactly like one of those videos YouTubers or streamers do, like, okay guys, you ask for that and I will deliver it. No, you're an idiot. You just want it because your pride or your wallet needs that type of mechanic or that type of video. No one asked for this, come on. I've been watching the Steam discussion page for 2 years, I think about 2 years or more, and very few people wanted a skill-based, a class-based system. Come on. You little, oh, okay. So by the way, White Bat Studio for the soundtrack. Free to listen, no copyright. So can you stand our videos as well? Consisting of the trademark free, okay, so you'll have a custom gear loadout with their trademark armor set, 3 completely unique weapons. That means you'll not even be able to use all of the basic weapons on your starting character, which is silly. The signature archetype. Come on, this is not Borderlands, it was never Borderlands. Are they trying to tell us in the Remnant lands? What is this? Archetype perks and archetype skills. This is exactly what I loved about the game. They are making unique weapons, unique armors, unique perks, and unique skills for these classes, which is silly in my opinion. There will be a little twist at the end, so let's read all of it, because I know what's coming. Each archetype has its own independent progression, so if you want to change your archetype from DPS to tank, you have to create a completely new character and grind those items again. Unless they will change the way you get items. Okay, let's see. From what I can see over here, this is the stuff you'll start with, and that means the other classes will not have it. And these are exactly the same traits and the same perks as they were in Remnant 1, look at this. Swift Shot. Pose up, I don't know what that is. Quick Hands is swapping your weapons faster. Slade Offense, I forgot what this is, but it's from the first game, I'm sure of it. Ammo Reserves, it's the same thing. You had a ring that increases your ammo capacity and they just turned it into perk. So there are 5 perk types: Prime, Damage, Team, Utility, and Relic. Why would you need Team, Utility, and Relic? And what is Prime? All you needed is Damage and maybe a little bit of Survivability. So the Prime perk possesses the core identity and provides a benefit that... Okay, let's not go into that. We'll get more examples. The Damage perk is for damage. One archetype might gain a ranged and a melee damage buff from their managed perk, while another might get a boost to mod power or even skill damage. So that implies you'll be able to have a few choices when creating your characters, which means a lot less in terms of creating a character that has everything and doing everything. It was so cool to test all the weapons and all the loadouts. The team perk, again, you had team perks in the Remnant 1 game as well. They were called the skills you equipped, and some of them had an aura skills, and they did exactly the same function without all of this needless complication and I don't know. Well, I guess it's time to sell those booster packs, right? Some for ammo, for healing, for boosting team defense. Again, the game Remnant 1 had those things. Utilities, quality of life. Is a temporary relic effect is a temporary effect that becomes active for a short duration. Oh, so it's related to the healing items, the dragon hearts. But we already had those, so when you use a dragon heart, you could get a boost of damage, you could get a healing buff, you could get other things. So what do you get from leveling up now? Okay, let's talk about the archetype skills. Or archetype, I don't know. I was so angry I did. Usually I do a little bit of researching and I will try to make the proper English, but this time I was too angry. So unlike weapon mods from the original game, which usually added an alternative art that could be swapped between weapons, archetype skills cannot be shared between archetypes. For example, if you want to use that special healing archetype, you'll have to use that. Come on. So basically you cannot heal as a tank, or you cannot heal as... I mean, you will still have the dragon hearts, but that just puts you in a very weird position, because you will not be able to heal by using other methods, which nobody used, because you would have damage and you would have utility all over the place. So healing was not something you really needed. Okay, the second major feature of the archetype skills is the way they operate on a cooldown, as opposed to the mod power buildup of the... They are operating on a cooldown, really? Since skills provide powerful buffs, auras, or even pure damage and healing, they are limited due to time. Using them at the right moment is essential. What are they doing? They're just going back on all of the cool things they had. This is a Borderlands. What is this cooldown? Why on cooldown? Remember, in Remnant, you could increase your mod power generation or your mod power, I don't know. Let's just say you could manipulate your mod power in many ways, and you also had more mod power duration and other stuff. So this is a huge step backwards, because, for example, you're fighting a big boss and you cannot regenerate your mod power faster by playing smarter, so you're going to be punished. So it's going to be like Dota. You know, Dota is skill based and cooldown based, so you fight the boss for 20 seconds, then you use a skill, you fight the boss for another 20 seconds, use a skill. You're like a puppet on the strings. Puppet presses button. Puppet doesn't press button. So if you have a mod that does damage, what will you do? You basically have to use it on cooldown. If you have a mod that heals you, you basically have to use it on cooldown. Otherwise it loses its meaning and its power. I don't understand. How could they do this? Well, I understand. I should have some coins near me to jingle them, because that's what they're thinking. Don't worry, weapon mods haven't gone anywhere. Where are they? Under my bed? Under my chair? Where did they go? under the sink? Where are they? So each archetype has... What's with the music? I don't have time to make... Well, I guess I can show you. Okay, it didn't show anything dangerous. So, while each archetype can only shoot... Man, I am reading this and I'm not... Why? I'm having an identity crisis. The only game that was truly innovative and very fun to play, even on single player... Oh, that's a new weapon. It's an M60, or it's a machine gun. This was not shown in any other pictures from my... They're turning the game into Call of Duty or Tales from the Remnant. So each archetype can only slot one archetype skill at a time. So you may freely switch between unlocked skills when out of combat at no cost. Okay, that means you have a main skill that you can change, and those skills can only be used by your class. But how many classes are... Okay. Tough boss battle coming up. Switch over to... Why? That was the whole point of the build. You made a build that was very, very good in most cases, and you played the game with that build. For example, the lightning build, the bleeding build, the summoning build, the fast rate of fire build, the one-shot build. You had so many builds that you would really need to change them because they work so well, and you'd need a lot of time to adapt them to the game. But no. Perhaps you should switch to a defensive skill if it's a hard boss. Come on. Each archetype skill comes with its own trait. So how many traits do you have? The trait is locked to that specific... Come on. Does this sound fun to anyone? You choose a class. That class has different weapons and different stats and different skills. You can switch skills out of combat. And that class will also have traits. You don't have to spend... Calm down. The trait is locked to that specific archetype. Secondly, you level up your archetype. As you level up your archetype, you automatically gain +1 into that trait. You don't have to spend any of your hard-earned points. It's free. Why do you mean it's free? Because it's not supposed to be free. You're supposed to invest your points in them, because that's what made Remnant so great. You'd level up and experience was always needed and necessary. Why necessary? Because to increase your power. Why needed? Was needed because you needed to create builds. So they completely throw out the window the reason you will level up. This is vastly more important in Remnant 2 because total trade points are limited. Why are they limited? Who asked for limited trade points? Who asked for class-based items? Who asks? Outlanders. Outlanders asked for this, right? Tales from the Outlanders Remnants. Yeah, I guess that would be the title of the video. You can no longer have every trade maxed out, but why? That was the main reason to play the game for 200 hours, to max out everything, get everything, and play with all of the builds. No one will play a defensive build, come on. So if you could play as a defensive build... okay, so let's say it like this. In Remnant from the Ashes, you would play whatever you liked, and at the end of the game, when you finish the game, you could play a more defensive build, a more team-based build, a more utility build, because you already had the fun and you know you could always switch back. But that's a huge limitation if you can no longer do those things, and you also have limited points, trade points. You have to decide what trades to spend on and what trades to forego. Decisions. Oh yeah, I love that. Imagine being weak because you cannot get more points. This is why getting a fully maxed out archetype trait for free at maximum... This doesn't make sense what they're telling us. They're basically telling you, hey, don't eat that... don't eat those pancakes with maple syrup and blueberries, they are bad for you. Instead, eat this dog food. I guarantee you it's better for you than that delicious breakfast. Come on. Don't drink Coca-Cola, drink water. It's better for you. It's better for you, but it's not fun. That's the whole point. You're playing games because they're fun, not because... When your archetypes reaches maximum level, the archetype trait is unlocked and can be used for any build you wish. I guess this is one of the parts that I mentioned that is a little better, because if you play with the healer and you max out the healer class, that archetype trait is unlocked and you can use it for any build you wish. But it's not free to use, that's the whole point. The only caveat is if it's using a build that doesn't belong to you, you'll have to spend your trade points on it. For example, you may play a support archetype that comes with a healing effectiveness trait. Once you get that archetype max level, you can now use that trait on your DPS character, but it will cost you. Why would you do something like that? Why would you level up an utility, a support archetype, which has a healing effectiveness trait, and then use that healing effectiveness trait on your DPS character? Who does that? What games are they playing? They might be playing, I don't know, they might be playing Stardew Valley for all I know. I don't know what. I cannot think of any games that are they playing World of Warcraft or whatever. Why would you need healing effectiveness trait on a DPS character? The DPS character, that's the whole point. You kill something before you need to heal, or you kill it before it kills you. Like the, you know, like the Chaos Space Marines say, we come here to kill or to be killed. It's all a service to the Dark Gods. No, this is a service to their wallets and their live service game. I'll still play the game, but this is so disappointing. Or why would you put a DPS trait on a support archetype? Because it doesn't make sense. Okay, and this is the part where I actually calmed down when I read about it. Again, I didn't read every little detail, but you will calm down when you hear about this. Am I locked into my starting archetype? And the short answer is of course not. Really? You are very much locked in your starting archetype. Because then you have to play another one. Playing your... Okay, now this is comedy gold. Check this out. Picking your starting archetype only determines your initial playstyle. In Remnant you can change your weapons, armor, mods, rings and more. So it should not be a surprise you can also change your archetype. What's the catch? Well, you'll have to earn it. That means even if you pick up an archetype that caught your eye at the start, you can still unlock all of the other starting archetypes. You don't even have to start a new game to get them, because as soon as you unlock another archetype, you can switch to it. But that's the whole point. You cannot use your other archetype and you'll have limited trade points, and you cannot use all of the skills and all of the perks. You could have your starting archetype at level 7, discover a new one, and then immediately change. You will still need to level that new archetype to reap the benefits of their perks and skills and archetype trait, but that's your choice to make. But what would be the point of that? You could have just gotten a new trait, a passive trait, and level that one to level 20 if you wanted, or you could have just got a new skill from defeating a boss or a new weapon and modified your play. Again, it doesn't make sense. You are playing a game where you're supposed to have fun by building your class or your kind of like your combat build or your character build. So you find something. You're playing as a DPS character, you find a healing build. Would you switch to the healing build just to level it up and be miserable playing it? No. I think this happens in a lot of games these days. You're supposed to play a class and you're feeling miserable playing it. This is an MMO mechanic. You're playing a class you don't like to level it up and get the benefits. I doubt most of these classes will be fun. I guess it depends. It's kind of like Escape from Tarkov. Many people prefer to play with friends. Maybe in this game people will prefer to play with their friends as well, but that was not the essence of the Remnant in my opinion. Okay, let's go on. We have to finish a lot of reading. Archetypes are unlocked in a multitude of ways, and we'll leave that for the... Yeah, you mean they're like the traits you used to unlock before. Why the archetype overhaul? In the original game we received a lot of... You received a lot of nonsense, you liars, you little liars. I don't believe a word. The developers are notorious for saying certain things they went back on. For example, we had a few controversies because I got very angry at some mechanics. For example, they said in the boss raid mode, what was it called, survival mode, you are supposed to defeat 100 bosses to get a reward, and I said it's impossible for most people to defeat 100 bosses because it's very repetitive, is very boring, and it takes a huge amount of time. When I calculated how much time you needed to get all of the stuff from the survival mode, I know, well, I forgot the exact numbers, but it would be 50 hours or something like that, and I said nobody will play that game for that long, especially after getting the hardcore rewards and the other ones. And you know what happened? Now you can buy those items with items you get for defeating the bosses on a harder difficulty, which is weird, because I suggested a lot of the things that eventually got made into the game. Or you know, when I played Remnant from the Ashes, you didn't have the adventure mode available, and you also had to buy a DLC to get the Corsus adventure. Again, a lot of the things that were in the game were not working as intended, and I don't want to say I had only good ideas or good suggestions, but this is exactly why those suggestions were adopted, because they were good. But now they're going back on all of the good things they changed, and they're doubling down on the bad ones. We fully agree, so we went about designing a system that encapsulated the guiding tenets of Remnant. You can still collect... No, you cannot. This is what... Why you mean? This is what I hate about it. You can play a class and you won't... I mean, yeah, you can change your archetype, maybe. Maybe that's what they're suggesting. You can play an archetype and then switch your archetype to use other weapons and skills and traits. But that's the whole point. You're not going to be able to use everything on the same character at the same time to make those crazy builds we had. From what I understand, the way they design it, there will be some unique stuff to each class and you'll be limited in your trait points. So that means you cannot even max out everything you find as you did before, which is crazy to me. Why would they go back on the perfect system? That took a very long time to perfect, I might add, because if you remember, people complain mostly about the balance of the game, and that's why they changed the entire armor set 3 times, I think. They rebalanced everything. They complain about the power of certain guns, so they rebalanced those as well. They complain about the people complain about the balance, and they got the balance right. But if they do these changes, the balance will be all over the place, because you could just make 2 or 3 builds and you can finish the game with them. Nobody will want utility, teamwork, or friendship. What's the power of friendships? People just want the power of destroying enemies as hard as they can, like Kratos smashing bosses against rocks. Nobody wants to heal a friend by 20% HP. No. Kill the boss. Your friend dies, doesn't care. If you win, it's okay. Okay, let's go back. You can collect everything. Your effort will be rewarded in kind. What? Your joy will be met with a sense of mystery. What? I think they got the wrong game. This is not Hogwarts Legacy. I don't want mystery and wonder. I want the developers to double down on the good things from Remnant from the Ashes 1. This meant that we didn't want to hardlock players into the starting choice, and it also meant that we had some real They had some special rewards for players that put in the extra effort. I don't understand this. Will it be a live service game? Because that means people will have to spend a lot of hours unlocking simple things. The hardest challenge should be finding items and unlocking them, and like in Remnant from the Ashes 1, not leveling up archetypes and traits and all of this nonsense. Each new archetype perk and archetype skill unlock should inspire new build ideas. Come on, it doesn't work like that. They know that it doesn't work like that. I don't know why they think about it like this. Probably some new guy in the design department said this will be cool, but at least from the sounds of it, it's a terrible idea, because that means if you're playing even with a friend, even if you get the same gear and same items, you might have different builds, okay? Okay, so that means one of you will be severely weakened because you will choose to go on the healer path and you will have to go on the DPS path, or you both will go on the DPS path, which means this whole system is for nothing. And at the end of the, let's say, farming sessions, they'll be able to choose another archetype and use other skills, other mods and other guns, but at the same time, they'll not be happy about it, because it's kind of a miserable experience to play a game where you cannot play alone, and that's one of the reasons I am not really okay with all of these things. Can you play the entire game alone now, or will you need some kind of assistance from friends? I don't know, we'll have to see. Otherwise, why would they invest so much into those ideas? New build ideas. When you unlock a new element to your archetype, we hope it inspires you to think about all of the other gear you have obtained to that point and new combinations that are now possible. Yeah, but that means you'll build a build for your archetype. You will not build a build for your character. For example, in Remnant from the Ashes, I had so many builds. I had melee builds. I basically had all of the builds on the same character, but if they want to make it... Okay, so the main problem in Remnant from the Ashes was that basically you had 100 builds. Out of those 100 builds, 5 were legendary builds, 10 were good builds, and 20 builds barely worked, and the rest of the builds were useless. So even if you had a lot of variety and people say this build is amazing, or there were some people that were claiming this build is so good you love it, it was mostly for flavor, because the best builds overall is the same. They're using the same archetype of build. I doubt the developers have come up with a way that they can make let's say, 50 builds viable or at least equal. No, I think the game will suffer from a massive balancing problem. I think the game will have some massive problems at launch, and maybe they'll fix the game throughout the course of the year, because there's no way they can balance all of this nonsense, especially if it's a multiplayer game. They're just adding a lot of layers to the game that nobody asks for. I hope in the content design, gameplay choices, boss design, replayability, and also, how should I put it, the random generations of the levels, they made more progress. I'm curious about the random generation of the levels more. I'm curious how big the levels are. I'm not curious about this type of stuff. I'm actually a bit sad about it. And then we doubled it. At this point, we're certain that there's been a lot of digits for new players and returning players alike, but there's one final element. I'm not okay. To the archetype system that we hope blows your socks away. I'm not wearing socks. I'm at home. Dual archetypes. Come on, we need some okay, dual archetypes. Yeah, that's the amount of people that are happy about. Why would you want a dual archetype? Double perks, double skills, double trade. That sounds, again, this is more like Borderlands, where you had a few skill trees that you can choose from. But if you remember, in Borderlands, those choices were very limited, and you can only build a few viable character builds with those kinds of system, because you always end up in the same place. So it doesn't matter how you end up in the place. In Borderlands, you would always end up in the same place, and that's what I don't understand. Why would you want dual archetypes, double perks, double? In Remnant from the Ashes, you had all of the skills, all of the traits, all of the perks at the same time, and now you have double that. You only have 2 of them at the same time. You don't have double what was in Remnant from the Ashes. You basically have infinitely less. Or not infinitely, you have a lot less options, because you can only have 2 of them instead of all of them. Unlock the ability to combine any 2 of your archetypes to create a class. Each archetype will have their own perks, skills, and both. Again, an archetype will have perks, skills, and a trait. A single trait, remember that. Prime perk will be activated. The archetype with the second slot will not have access to their prime perk. Again, they are talking to us that will have the same options as build options as in Remnant from the Ashes, but they're simply telling us that we don't have them. Well, it depends on how strong the prime stuff is, but I think it will be pretty good. Things like increased effectiveness, additional charges, shorter cooldowns. A DPS archetype prime with support archetype class combo will be different than the exact support archetype prime plus DPS architect. So they're telling me if you play as a DPS first and then as a support, it's not the same as playing as a support and a DPS secondly, which is why they're just contradicting themselves over here. They need a lawyer to sort these things out. Maybe they're just saying it in a way that sounds very bad, but I think they need a lawyer. They need someone to teach them how to say these things that in a way that people are not upset about it. Because they're going to basically create a diversity of builds by making every build weaker, and that's the bottom line. Oh, I'm listening to so much. This is for Atomic Heart FOV. So, okay, let's go. So, I'm sorry I'm going so slow on this, but I just wanted to make sure people kind of get a better idea of what they're trying to sell, because I didn't understand it at first either. Yeah, it's a horror show. So, in the first example, the DPS archetype will be featured and thus have their prime perk available. The archetype skills will also be enhanced. So the support will still be a support, the DPS will still be a DPS, that's what they're saying. Each dual archetype class combination will have its own name. Oh, so... What? What do you mean their own name? So DPS archetype prime perk will be violent, preserving. So You can be a violent guardian or a preserving guardian. Okay, I think the Guardian from Samurai Jack would be very disappointed about this. He would technically qualify as a violent Guardian. What is a preserving Guardian? Who wants to be a preserver? Who wants to be a preserving Guardian? Hey, you in the back room, do you want to be a preserving Guardian? Ask your friend. Ask your friend that played Remnant from the Ashes with you. I will be the violent Guardian and you will be the preserving Guardian. Is that a deal? Okay, okay. No. Yeah, there might be only examples, but it sounds so bad. Hey, do you want to be the Juggernaut? Do you want to be the crazy Juggernaut? Or do you want to be the Yoga Juggernaut? Yoga Juggernaut? Crazy Juggernaut. The name automatically... This is some type of nonsense. The goal of the archetype system is to give players a playstyle foundation they can build around with their gear choice. Then the goal of dual archetype class combination is to provide them with an outlet. Why not give everyone everything? Again. I think these are the same developers I was arguing over Steam or over Reddit. I think they're the same developers. Maybe they'll remember me and they'll be upset about all of these things. Guild Wars 1 or Green Dawn. Exactly, because it's a MMORPG feature or a Diablo feature with the skill tree. Want to give more? Give everything. The backpack. Bad idea. Instead of a good transposition of Dark Souls into the third-person shooter as the first game, we will start as a borderline game between Outriders. Oh, it was Outriders, not Outlanders. Outriders and Souls. We'll use the wealth and versatility of a free progression of the avatar. Sounds like the whole class idea between the Secret World and that Secret World Legend, yeah. He's in battle. Sounds great. Alto Destiny 2. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my opinions. I don't want to speak about this topic unless we have new information, but what are they thinking? They're going to milk us for money, because that means they can, instead of releasing new planets or new content or new game mode or stuff like that, they can just release new archetype classes or new archetype. We can have the Bruiser archetype, we can have the Psyker. I mean, come on, we can have the Gunslinger archetype, we can have the Barbarian archetype. I'm very afraid about this. They want to sell stuff to you, and I'm not sure what they want to sell to you, but don't believe them that this is for your own good. This is severely limiting the amount of builds and fun you can have in the game, even with friends. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.